Hey guys, Alex here from TitanBearGaming.com, at TitanBearGaming on social media and on Discord. In today's video, I'm going through the Tal'Dorei campaign setting by Matthew Mercer from Critical Role. This is a Green Ronin publication written by Matt Mercer and his friend James Hake, where he details all of the different setting details that you would need to be able to play through the world of Exandria in your own home table. He covers a brief history of the world, talks about the different continents and all the different landmarks and locations within those continents, as well as the different peoples and factions and other great stuff. He also presents a couple new class options available for players to choose from, which is what we're going to cover today. In today's video, we're going to talk about the blood domain for clerics. Now you can think about these as being something akin to the bloodbenders from the Avatar series and Legend of Korra. They're very similar in that they have kind of a supernatural level of control over their own blood, the blood of other creatures, etc. They could do some really mean stuff with it. This is not a good aligned archetype for you to choose from. He does say specifically in the flavor text for the blood domain that this is much more favored by neutral or evil deities, since this is for clerics, and that good deities really heavily shy away from this, except at the kind of utmost of circumstantial needs. Now, from a thematic perspective, I really like it. It does operate fundamentally similarly to bloodbenders. You do have a level of control over blood and organs and bodies and things like this. And he presents some really nice thematic statements that you might want to think about if you're going to be playing someone of the blood domain. For example, you might want to include some of your spell descriptions to say things like Cure Wounds. The spell Cure Wounds features controlling blood in the shape of like a needle and thread to actually sew wounds closed. Or like using the spell Guardian of Faith, the visage might be a floating crimson spirit of dripping viscera that watches the vicinity with burning red eyes. He recommends getting a little creative with your descriptions here. Now, just like any other cleric domain, you do get a whole bunch of domain spells, and there's some good ones here for the blood domain. Sleep, Ray of Sickness at first level, Ray of Enfeeblement, Crown of Madness, some pretty typical ones. At 5th, you get Haste and Slow, which are very good. Those are not by default on the cleric spell list, and Haste is a big one in 5th edition. Blight, Stone Skin, Dominate Person, Hold Monster, some of the things that you would anticipate for being able to paralyze creatures based on holding their blood and holding onto their body. At first level, you get a bonus proficiency for any martial weapon. You get a martial weapon proficiency, as well as bloodletting focus as your first real power. This one's very cool. Simply put, anytime that you use a spell that is of first level or higher to deal damage, to inflict damage to any creature that has blood, those creatures suffer additional necrotic damage equal to 2 plus the spell's level. I kind of like the re-inclusion of spell's level as the scaling modifier for this. 5th edition walked away pretty hard from the concept of using spell's level for anything scaling related, but I think it'll fit here nicely since this is just a free thing anytime that you are dealing damage to a creature with blood. This doesn't have once per day or number of uses equal to your wisdom modifier. So while the spell's level is going to be toned down relative to scaling with like caster level or something else, it happens for free anytime that you deal magic damage with a first level spell or higher. So I think it's actually pretty balanced. At second level, you get your Channel Divinity option, which is really fun, Blood Puppet. And just as you would expect, it lets you take control of an enemy and use them to whack their allies. In this case, it's that you can use your action to channel divinity, and you target a large or smaller creature that has blood within 60 feet of you. They make a constitution save against your spell save DC, and if they fail the save, you can make them immediately move up to half of their movement in any direction of your choice and make a single weapon attack against a creature of your choice within their range. So if that save is failed, you get to pick up the enemy, march him on over to his friend, and whack his friend, which could be really great if you're in something like a boss fight or something where you're dealing with a monster that has a really big single target attack. What's even more fun about this is that dead or unconscious creatures automatically fail their saving throw. So if you've already downed an enemy that you know has a really strong melee attack or a ranged attack or something, you can pick them up for free because they get an automatic failure on their saving throw. At 8th level, it scales to target huge or smaller creatures, which can be really big as you're getting higher up in levels. So that's the first use of your Channel Divinity. The second feature that you pick up is at 8th level, which is another Channel Divinity called Crimson Bond. Now this one's cool and kind of leans towards Matt Mercer's Blood Hunter class that you can check out the video that I've done for that one. This one kind of borrows a similar concept from them. The basic idea is that if you can take a sample of blood from a creature that was spilled no longer than a week ago and is at least 2 ounces in capacity, then you can gain some additional kind of augury or divination elimination effect using that blood, right? As an action, you can focus on the blood to try to get some additional information. You know the target's approximate distance and direction from you, as well as their general state of health. And he includes this nice table in here to help dungeon masters explain that to the players. 100% health means that they are untouched. 99 to 50% means injured. 49% to 1% is heavily wounded, and 0% is unconscious or dying with otherwise deceased, right? So kind of a useful describing terminology for being able to relay state of health for the target. So that's a good thing to have provided here. And the bond only works so long as the target is within 10 miles of you. So if they go beyond that, you're outside of the range. Generally, you can maintain this effect as though you were concentrating on a spell for up to 1 hour. So you can use this as a nice homing beacon, right? And it happens automatically as an action. Now, here's the fancier part for it. During the bond, once you've turned this on, you can spend an additional action to attempt to connect to the bonded creature's senses. The target makes a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC. If they succeed, the connection is severed and the bond is ended, all right? What's more, you suffer 2d6 necrotic damage. It's not too much when you're at 8th level. For failing the saving throw, if they fail the save, you then get to choose eyesight or sound, and you get to then perceive through that target's senses, seeing what they see or hearing what they hear. It lasts for a number of rounds equal to your wisdom modifier, minimum of 1, and during this time you are either blind or deaf, respectively, with regards to your own senses. Once this effect ends, the bond is ended. There's a little bit of a vagary here of whether or not once the bond is over, can you then reinstitute the bond on the same sample of blood? And I would think yes, I would think that you could. It's still using your channel divinity, so you're still going to be limiting your use of this or your otherwise use of channel divinity anytime that you want to do this, but channel divinity gets to be used every short rest anyway, so you're going to be able to do this a fair bit. The blood domain is a little bit singular in this case, in that it is the only cleric archetype that exists right now that provides multiple avenues for using your channel divinity. Otherwise, normal clerics have just turn undead for channel divinity and then the one channel divinity option that they get from their domain. This one has two options, one that's a combat related one and one that is a out of combat related one, but I kind of like both of them. Since channel divinity is every short rest, you're going to be able to do it a lot, so you won't feel too bad about expending it on the non-combat option. At 8th level, you pick up Sanguine Recall, which is a very cool ability that I really like seeing here for the cleric. This one's very similar to the Arcane Recovery ability that wizards get, where they take a short rest and then they can recover half of their wizard level in total spell slots recovered for the day, of expended spell slots. The cleric operates a little bit differently. Instead of being on a short rest, you just use it as an action to immediately recover half your cleric level of spell slots, right? The penalty for this, instead of just getting it for free at a short rest like a wizard gets, is that you immediately suffer 1d6 damage per spell slot level that you've recovered, right? This means you can take a pretty hefty hit for your hit points, especially if you don't have a whole lot to begin with, but I kind of like the thematic aspect of this, that your blood domain cleric can inflict for a moment and revitalize himself in kind of a Kylo Ren, pumping up his rage through pain kind of direction. And just like the wizard's arcane recovery, you can't use this feature again until after you finish a long rest. The last power that you get as the blood domain cleric is Vascular Corruption Aura, which is cool, but I think it needs to be tuned just a little bit. The basic concept is, as an action, 30 feet around you, you emit an aura that pulses necrotic energy through the veins of the foes around you, so long as they have blood. For 1 minute, any enemy creature that has blood that enters the aura or begins their turn in the aura immediately suffer 2d6 necrotic damage, okay? Since it lasts a minute, this can be a whole bunch of rounds of combat if you're staying within the space of them. It's 2d6 necrotic damage, which isn't that big, but hopefully the fact that you can do this for a full minute will be able to actually get some real damage out of this. Now, the really powerful part of this spell is that any enemy creature that is within this aura, anytime that they would recover hit points from any kind of effect, they only recover half of those hit points rounded up. This makes it really great for dealing with like boss fights, or a fight where you know that you're going to be dealing with some kind of cleric or healer or something else along these lines. Now, you can only use it once per day. It only recovers after finishing a long rest. Now, the piece that I think needs to be tuned a little bit is 2d6 necrotic damage every round. I think might be a little bit low for 17th level when you get this. You're going to be dealing with god tier stuff if you're playing at 17th level. And while it is true that you get it for free every round, I might tick it up to 3d6 personally, but that's going to be heavily dictated upon the kinds of combats that you design for your players at 17th level. Any which way, the hit points negation effect will always come in handy when you're dealing with a combat that high in the game. So that's it for the Blood Domain Cleric archetype. I like it. I think that people are going to have a good time playing this one. It'll be a little bit difficult to fit into a normal heroic campaign since it's very bloodthirsty and it's very mean and very evil god oriented, but it could also make for a very good villain. Now, I want to know what your feedback is. Starting from here on out, anytime that I post a video up here, I'm going to make a dedicated channel for this video on our Discord server. So come on over to our Discord server and let's have a conversation about it. I want to know what you have to say about this video and about the Blood Domain Cleric. You can also leave me a comment down below here on the YouTube channel, or come talk to me over on social media at Titan Bear Gaming. I'm on basically all forms of social media platforms and I'd love to talk with you. I'm going to keep on going through the different class archetypes that we have here in the Tal'Dorei campaign guide, so look forward to those videos. Until next time I see you, have more fun, would you? It's good for you.